So the Mariners only have $16 million to spend for the offseason? And before I express more about this, here is a word from our sponsor, SeatGeek. SeatGeek is a mobile ticketing app for sporting events, concerts, and other events. They make the buying experience easier by the app ranking each ticket from 0 to 10 to see if you are getting a good deal, and you can see exactly where you are sitting. I regularly use that app, and I have had nothing but a fantastic experience with SeatGeek. Use my promo code RoofTopSports to get $20 off of your first purchase. Link to the code, app, and website will be in the description, so take advantage, and thank you. And to all those that have been using the SeatGeek promo code, I just want to say thank you very much, as it has helped this channel very much, and I hope that you got your $20 of saving worth it to you. Now let's get into it. So, how did the Mariners only have $16 million, they say, according to Seattle Times Adam Jude? Well, let's rewind a little bit. So, it was tendering deadline for the Mariners as of, I believe it was Friday. I saw that these players that the Mariners got rid of by tender, they were Austin Voth, Josh Rojas, Sam Haggerty, and JT Chargois. They were the ones that are not going to be kept by the Mariners, which majority of them, actually all of them, I'm not really that surprised. Like Austin Voth, he was pretty much your mid-level to lower tier bullpen pitcher, and had Matt Brash and Gregory Santos had been more healthy, including Jackson Kowar as well, then Austin Voth would have been in the much lower tier, as he was more in the mid-tier. Sam Haggerty being on the non-tender list doesn't surprise me either, despite his good defense, good base stealing, and showed some of his heroics in 2022 on what he could do. Unfortunately, it just wasn't going to be worth giving the extension, including the fact that the Mariners already have utility options already in Dylan Moore, so that spot's already pretty much taken at this point. And then let's go to Josh Rojas. Now, as good as his defense was, and as good as he was in 2023, as good as an April that he had, for $4 million, it didn't seem like it was going to be worth keeping him, because he only proved that he was a platoon player at best at third base, and clearly Josh Rojas was an extreme downgrade to Eugenio Suarez, who I really do miss dearly. And cue that good vibes only.
All right, guys, good vibes only. Don't forget it. Stop it. Thank you.
Now, here is the part that really got me. So according to Adam Jude and his Twitter, here's exactly what it said, and let me go right to it. So here was this tweet by Adam Jude. The Mariners are non-tendering Josh Rojas, Sam Haggerty, Austin Voth, and JT Chargois, club announces. Moves this week have freed up about $8 million in the payroll budget, roughly doubling what the Mariners are projected to have available this offseason. So you were to tell me that if the Mariners did tender these guys, that they would only have $8 million to spend throughout this entire offseason, while the holes on this team are very significant. You can argue that, obviously, third base now has a hole. Second base has a huge hole now that Polanco is gone. First base, you're not really sure about that, because right now your first baseman is just Luke Raley, and he is also a more of a solid platoon player as well. And might as well say even shortstop isn't so much in great shape. And even with outfield, like Victor Robles, as great as the last couple months of stretch of baseball that he had, more like 3 months, I guess, you can't really expect him to repeat that going into 2025. You just can't. So, biggest holes, third base, definitely third base, second base, and first base are your biggest holes on the offensive end. And the Mariners are telling us, or at least Adam Jude is reporting, that the Mariners only have $16 million for the entire offseason. With that money, you're not going to be able to afford like the likes of the Blake Snells, let alone Kim Ha-sung or Ha-sung Kim, and you'll barely be able to afford Kim Hae-sung or Hae-sung Kim, the other KBO impending free agent, which really concerns me. And also, the Mariners, with the interest of getting Carlos Santana or possibly re-upping Justin Turner, that's already going to eat up half of the budget, which is very concerning, because how are you going to go into the offseason where you have holes in multiple positions? You might as well almost say there's a hole in outfield, because you just cannot rely on Victor Robles to be an everyday guy. Like, I just don't see it yet. Maybe he'll prove me wrong, but I just don't see it. And even with Randy Arozarena, as good as he is, I don't necessarily like his plate discipline, because there's times where he just takes a step back when the pitch is already being thrown to, and it's a strike. And don't forget when he threw the bat by accident and got Julio to get out, unfortunately, which was really embarrassing, by the way. But with only $16 million, you're not going to be able to you'll maybe get 1 or 2 free agents, and that's if you go digging around and see which kind of club control guys that you can get. Like, there was that guy in Baltimore that the Marine Layer podcast brought up as a possible third base option, but how much is that going to cost? Some are saying that you might have to pay up Logan Gilbert, which I don't want to do because he's still in club control, and he's a far better pitcher than any of the starters. Unless you want to say George Kirby are better, Brian Wu or Bryce Miller. I don't know. But I would have thought that maybe trading Luis Castillo would have been the option. Now, I'm getting a little bit off topic about this whole cheapness thing. But what really concerns me is that the Mariners, in profit, and I looked it up on Forbes, they have made $76 million in profit in the 2024 season. And this team, or at least Adam Jude, is telling us that they only have $16 million. Like, even if they had like $30 million to spend, I'd still be concerned. Which really goes to show that John Stanton, he just doesn't care about winning. Like look at me, for example. Like, ever since starting this YouTube channel, have I made any money in profit? Have I made any profit since starting? Absolutely not. I've been in the complete red. I've spent money on equipment, this computer. I've spent money on the camera, spent camera on the lights, a lot of things. And even outsourced some of my work to a good friend of mine who has been helping me make videos and cover photos. And I've also paid for those things. Why do I do that? Because I care about the product of my YouTube. And I do think that I got to put the money in to grow the channel. Now, of course, throwing money at everything is not going to work, because we saw the Mariners do that in 2008 with Bill Bavasi. But it's not like any of us are asking the Mariners to go for broke every single year. We just want someone that can fill in the holes of second base and third base. And of course, first base. Because there's not really much in the farm system to look forward to. Like Cole Young, Justin Hollander, the GM, he's already admitted that the future star shortstop second baseman, he's not going to be ready until the middle of 2025 season. Ryan Bliss, can you really depend on him to be the everyday guy? I don't know. He has shown some flashes of potential, but he never really got to get solid playing time because of Jorge Polanco. And I don't know. But like $76 million in profit, and they're telling me that they can't spend a little bit more. Like, now, in business, John Stanton is entitled to keep that $76 million, or wherever he wants to spend. He is entitled to spend however he wants. But if he wants to put together a winning product, you can't take shortcuts. Like, look at the Dodgers and the Yankees. They don't take shortcuts. They took risk. And I looked at the Forbes on the Dodgers. They lose money quite a bit. They don't make profit every single year. But the Guggenheims, they don't care about that. They want to put together a winning product. And that's what John Stanton needs to do. If he wants to win, which I kind of doubt at this point, but if he does want to make money, he's got to spend money on the product. He's got to spend the money. He can't just take shortcuts, which he has been doing since 2022, which it seemed that before the 2022 season, they did spend a little bit of money to get Robbie Ray, trade for Adam Frazier. But then after that, they didn't really do much for 2023, with the exception of getting Teoscar Hernandez. And of course, they purged like some core players, like not extending the qualifying offer to Teoscar Hernandez. Now, granted, I was okay with that because I thought they could get something better than Teoscar, which I'll eat my words on that one. They unloaded Eugenio Suarez for basically nothing. Carlos Vargas and Sebi Zavala. Sebi Zavala is pretty much not even on the team anymore. And Carlos Vargas is a struggling prospect in the bullpen for the Mariners farm system. And let's go to Jared Kelenic. They traded away a struggling but high ceiling player only to get rid of Marco Gonzalez and Evan White. So, what can the Mariners really do from here with just, quote, $16 million? Well, the first option, they're going to have to trade for more club control guys, and you're going to have to find a way to get rid of the contracts of Mitch Haniger and Mitch Garver, which, by the way, Baltimore is looking for a catcher, so maybe Mariners can work something out where maybe if they can trade Mitch Garver and hopefully, what I would really hope, Luis Castillo to get their future star third baseman. Now, let me look and see who that third baseman is for that Baltimore Orioles team. I just want to double check so I make sure that I can maintain any kind of credibility that I would have. Now, here is 2024. Now, here was their third baseman. Trying to find out who exactly that was. He was an all-star for the team. Trying to figure it out who it was. Jordan Westberg. Jordan Westberg is 25 years old. I believe he was an all-star. He was an all-star. Had a WAR of 2.4, 18 home runs, 63 RBIs, batting .264 in 107 games. Yes, he would strike out a bunch, but he is a high rise of a player. And I think what it might take, you're going to have to trade away either one of your starters and Mitch Garver to make that deal work. Now, do I see the Mariners doing that? Probably not, but it does make sense because he does have years of club control where he would be a free agent as late as 2030, and he's carrying a $745,000 contract. But the question is, who would Baltimore be willing to take? They would say, give me George Kirby or Logan Gilbert. They're not going to take Luis Castillo because he has a big contract and he's kind of on more of the second half of his career. So probably not going to happen. So what you're going to have to do is you're probably going to have to throw in any kind of those prospects, hopefully not the top 10. So Jerry Dipoto is going to have to figure out a way to really sell those, maybe that 10 through 20 to make that work. So that is one of the options, is trading for the likes of Jordan Westbrook. And by the way, credit to, what's the name? Marine Layer Podcast for coming up with that idea. I thought it was a cool idea, but it's I don't know. Of course, the other option, they're going to have to go into the Asian market, which is a little bit cheaper, but they're risking with the fact of no experience. But if they can play, then they can play. An option would be Kim Hae-sung or Hae-sung Kim. He was a former teammate of Ha-sung Kim, or Kim Ha-sung, who plays for the San Diego Padres, also an impending free agent, which I don't believe the Mariners are even going to get because according to their $16 million payroll that they say that they have, or what Adam Jude says, he would pretty much eat that entire thing of its entirety. So I don't see the Mariners going for him. So they're going to have to tap into that Asian market. And other things they're going to have to do is they're going to have to find ways to unload contracts of Mitch Garver and Mitch Haniger. And Mitch Haniger does take up quite a bit, but if you can find a way to unload him, then you'll be able to have more money to spend. But the problem is you'll have to probably trade one of those top 10 prospects, and you will think that they're going to ask for the likes of the Cole Youngs, Colt Emerson, Lazaro Montez, who knows? And let's look and see who the Mariners' top 10 prospects even are. As I'm looking at that list right now, in the top 10, we've got Logan Evans, Johnny Farmelo, Ryan Sloan. I can't say this guy's name, but he's a switch-handed pitcher. Your Angelo, I can't even say it. Tyler Locklear, Felnine Celestine, Harry Ford, Lazaro Montez, Cole Young, and Cole Emerson. So I would think if they're going to get rid of Mitch Haniger, they're going to have to find a way to unload any of those prospects. Now, the ones I might be willing to unload just by looking at it now, Johnny Farmelo, because he's had that injury concern, so maybe that may carry over, or Maybe Logan Evans, but he's a starting prospect. Or maybe Felmin Celestine because of his injury problems. But if the other teams know that, then they may be hesitant to get the likes of him. So options really: trade for someone with club control, but very high upside, more of an up-and-coming player, just like what the Mariners did to get Randy Arozarena. I mean, he's already been a star at this point pretty much. Or they're going to have to go in the Asian market, and they're going to have to find ways to unload the contracts of Mitch Garver and Mitch Haniger, which is going to be tough to do in the offseason. But we're not even in December yet, so who knows where it will be. But man, or actually, I know I'm flipping things around, but the best option for the Mariners: raise the payroll. Use the profits that you've been getting over the last couple years, including the fact that the Mariners have actually a competitive team, at least competitive to make it interesting going into September of each year. They still make the money. So just spend a little bit of money you can to build a winner, because the players that the Mariners have in the core, like Cal Raleigh, George Kirby, Logan Gilbert, they're going to be up for extensions, and they're going to be asking for it. Yes, Cal Raleigh fired his agent, Scott Boras, but it may not matter. He's still going to want something where the Mariners are going to be uncomfortable, and time is really running out, and I'm saying it. 2023 and 2024 were the two best seasons in Mariners history where they could have went for the World Series, but they didn't because of cheapness and Jerry DiPoto's not so great trade moves that he has made. Would like to put more blame on the ownership because they really are hamstringing this team. Unless that Adam Jude thing about $16 million is kind of like not exactly true, and we can only hope that it's not true. But I mean, Adam Jude said something about they also had a very little amount of money last season, and it turned out the Mariners didn't even really go out and spend that much money either. So much for John Stanton saying that there are going to be more resources available. I mean, I guess they did for the trade deadline, but it really didn't say much at all. So I don't know. Well, hopefully everything changes after this video, and I'm hopefully that you guys enjoyed it as well. And I just want to say thank you very much for following this, and thanks for bearing with me over the past month where I hadn't been as consistent with my content due to having that stomach bug and that we had lost power. So at least I was able to get one video out. Should have done more, but should have, could have, would have. But anyways, thank you. And to help support this channel even further, hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and painfully saying, go Mariners.